The Shade, issue number 7, written by James Robinson, art by Javier Pulido. We left off last issue with Shade coming in to help out Sangra in her final battle against the Inquisitor. And yeah, it's an elaboration, but he steps in and he says, isn't it weird how these fight scenes, they only last a couple seconds, yet they seem to drag on forever. And he just is thinking about all the stuff that's been going on and how, all the hostages over to the side and Sangra's doing her thing and how how she's fighting for her city and her people and whatnot. But apparently he recounts a conversation that he wasn't present for. He actually says how he was told this later. And it's basically the Inquisitor's backstory of why he's doing this. And it boils down to he actually did die back in 44 by dropping into that molten magma pit or whatever. And when he died, he went to hell. So eventually he made an actual deal with the devil to come up here and send sinners down to Satan in return for being able to, come back up here. So not only was he working for Satan, he was also feeling like he was also doing the Lord's work because he was, sending sinners to hell. So it's the best of both worlds here. And Lysandra's hearing all that, and she's like, dude, you're making an actual deal with the devil, and you're telling, are you kidding me? You're straight evil, man. You have no room to talk about sin or anything like that. You are genuinely the worst. And he's like, but whatever. Yeah, Barcelona's going to die. So then he reveals that his whole thing that he built is a soul bomb. And the way it functions is because they, where everything was mapped out in terms of the people committing suicide and where their previous battles were, it's made it so it's been a pentagram all around the city of Barcelona. And this place that they're in will create the final point of it and therefore send all these souls in Barcelona to hell. That's the gist of it. Then Shade comes in, doing the fight scene and all that. And as he's holding off some of the grunts, a giant devil demon walks in and he's like, remember me, Shade? And Shade's like, nope, genuinely don't. And he's like, oh, we fought in Paris at 1901. I now have the power of hell behind me. You'll never defeat me. And he's like, still don't remember you, but okay, whatever. So then Montpellier, the snake detective guy, comes in and he's like, hey, don't worry about it. They're not as strong as they think because, as it turns out, she fought the Inquisitor in this place back in 1926. And so Shade's like, okay, does that matter? And he's like, that makes all the difference. Go for it. And he's like, all right, cool, whatever. And so he uses his shadow power against the demon, and it just tears him apart. He's literally just being held up by it. And Shade has a moment of introspection where he thinks of his wife, and he thinks of the rest of his family, and basically how he's always done wrong by everyone in his family. He's never particularly cared about them in the way that he knows he should have, and how he's always let them down. And as he's thinking about this, the Shade is just coming out of him in droves, and he's just absent-mindedly doing this as he gets more and more deep in his sad thoughts, until finally the entire city of Barcelona is temporarily just in darkness, just 100% no light, absolute darkness. Later on, we meet back up with them. Apparently, during the Shadow thing, either Shade sent the Inquisitor to, the Shadow Realm, or he got away. It's a little unclear, so that way Sangra has continuing adventures, I guess. And Shade asked Montpellier, what did 1926 mean? And as it turns out, because of some riots that happened in, the 40s, when they rebuilt that building, after it was torn down, they actually built it several hundred yards away from where it originally was. So the building wasn't actually in the same place where they fought. Therefore, it didn't complete the pentagram. So they didn't have the power. So yeah, super smart or whatever. But Shade's like, all right, look. Well, I guess before that, Sangre comes up and is like, hey, by the way, you asked about your blood way back in the beginning issue. Turns out it went bad. I don't have your blood anymore. But then he comes out and he's like, look, I just got a call. Like, my grandson died anyway while I was away. He was the whole reason I was getting the blood. But I came to some realizations that I've been a bad family member, and so I need to go take care of the issues that he was looking into, aka I gotta find the bad apple on my family tree. So I'm gonna go do that. But hey, you are my daughter. I am your father. And I will be back very soon. I'm not just gonna disappear for centuries again. I'm going to keep this going. And so he fades away as Sangre literally cries over seeing him. And then we cut to London, where a white-haired man opens up a big door and walks in and says, the shade is on his way, my lord. And then we see a crazy-ass Egyptian god-looking dude who's, I guess, excited about that. And, okay, whatever. Barring that last page, that definitely didn't feel like it stuck with anything, I think this was a pretty good wrap-up to this 3-issue arc. It was a good thing of, okay, we built up the Inquisitor, Lysandre, we built up how Montpellier is a good detective and whatnot. Honestly, this arc felt less about Shade than it did Lysandre. Like, he was there, and the last issue, I guess, ostensibly mostly focused on him, but it was completely just like, it wasn't set up, is the best way I can say it. Like, he feels sad that he wasn't there for his family, but it didn't feel like that really came from anywhere. Don't get me wrong, they, like, justify it in the book, but if you look at it over the terms of the arc, it doesn't. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. So it was fine. It was a good thing. Javier Pulido's art, it fits this arc, and I've come to associate that. Like, I couldn't even imagine Lysandre looking like anything but the way he draws it. But I am glad that it's not the way that the entire book looks, because it does have a very distinct and very polarizing look to it. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what other artists we get on this. But, yeah, no, solid arc all around. As for the issue individually, 6.5, and that sounds pretty harsh, but it just comes down to, I've seen 2 or 3 times in this book already where Shade has had like a really powerful emotional moment of like him coming to terms with something. The Swan thing comes, for instance. This one tried to play that same beat, but I really just didn't feel it. It didn't feel as impactful to me. So yeah, that's Shade number 7, and we are now officially more than halfway done this book, so can't wait to see how we start winding up to the final plot of who is the bad apple on Shade's family tree.